Part 1. The Forbidden Whisper. Bloodlines in Shadow.
What if I told you that before the myths of vampires and werewolves were divided into two warring tales, there was a single lineage that bound their curses together? Not born of love, not born of war, but of hunger. A hunger so deep, it hollowed the soul of those who carried it and rewrote the flesh of generations to follow. Long before the word vampire ever echoed through the Carpathian Mountains, before villagers carved silver charms to ward off wolves howling in the night, there was a cult hidden beneath volcanic stone, a sect so secret even its ruins have forgotten their name. They called themselves the Blood Covenant, not followers of God, not servants of the devil, but worshippers of something far older, a parasite that slept beneath the black earth, waiting for flesh to feed on and dreams to corrupt. At the center of this covenant was the Matron, a woman whose body was wasting away from a rare, incurable disease. Her skin turned ashen, her veins collapsed beneath her flesh. In the journals she left behind, she wrote in trembling script, "I will not die in weakness. I will conquer the rot that devours me, even if I must drink the night itself." But her salvation did not come from prayer. It came from infection. The cult unearthed a living parasite buried in the graves of warriors who had never decayed, a black coil that pulsed like a second heart when held to flame. The matron cut herself open beneath the moon and let the creature crawl into her wound. She did not scream. She laughed. What followed was no miracle. Her body twisted, her eyes burned with a hunger no human language could name. Her followers knelt in awe, convinced her suffering was divine, the sign of ascension. They called her not priestess, not prophet, but mother of the night. From her blood came two gifts and two curses, the thirst for life that would never be quenched, and the feral strength of beasts that could tear through iron and stone. The covenant believed the merging of these two hungers, blood and fang, man and wolf, was the only true path to transcendence. What they created would come to be whispered centuries later in hushed superstition, Vârcolac. Neither vampire nor werewolf, but something older, something far more dangerous. Do you hear it? The whisper of claws against stone, the hum of blood beneath your skin. This is not just a myth. This is the forbidden lineage, and it begins where faith ends.
Part 2. The Matron's Covenant. When curses converge. Deep beneath mountains veined with obsidian, the Covenant carved their sanctuaries not for worship, but for hunger. They did not build temples to pray. They built labyrinths to contain the screams of their offerings. The air reeked of copper and burning resin. Frescoes on the cavern walls did not depict saints or angels, but hybrid figures with jaws unhinged, claws outstretched, and eyes hollowed to black. In each mural, two beasts merged into one. The message was clear. Salvation was not in purity, but in fusion. The matron's disease was their gospel. Her frailty, her slow decay, became the proof that life itself was flawed, weak, imperfect. To her followers, the parasite was not corruption, but correction. "We do not cure the flesh," she preached, her voice echoing in the tunnels like iron striking stone. "We replace it." The rituals began with capture. Villagers were dragged screaming into the underground halls, their wrists bound, their throats marked with ash. Some were fed directly to the parasite, their bodies dissolving into chittering nests that glowed faintly in the dark. Others were chosen to endure the double infusion, a blending of vampiric blood stolen from the nightbound and lupine essence harvested from feral wolves. Few survived. Those who did were no longer human. These creations were called Vârcolac, living weapons, towering in form, their jaws strong enough to crush stone, their hides impervious to silver, eyes like molten iron, breath steaming with rot. But their loyalty was not to the matron, not to the cult, not even to each other. They obeyed only hunger. One infiltrator, a monk named Alaric, recorded what he saw. They tore open a living man and sang hymns to the parasite with his heartbeat. The matron drank from his chest as if from a chalice, proclaiming him reborn. Her lips were black with his blood. Her eyes did not blink. His manuscript, found centuries later, hidden inside monastery walls, was stained not only with ink, but with his own dried blood. The Covenant's motto was etched into every altar. We rise as one. We hunt as one. We live as one. No outsider leaves alive. But there was a cost the matron had not foreseen. The parasite she worshipped was alive, and it was evolving. Each new fusion twisted further from her design, birthing creatures she could not control. The line between vampire and wolf blurred until even the Covenant feared what they had made. Above ground, whispers spread. Villages emptied overnight. Children vanished from their beds. And in the forests, hunters reported claw marks higher than any man's reach. And a silence so complete, it made the wind itself sound like a scream. The Vârcolac were no longer myths of the Covenant. They were loose, and the night was learning to fear its own children.
Part 3. The Night Unbound, the Rise of the Vârcolac. When the first Vârcolac broke free from its chains, it did not roar, it whispered. The sound was soft, almost human, yet it hollowed the marrow of every cultist who heard it. In that whisper, there was hunger. In that hunger, there was memory. The mountain trembled. The Covenant's labyrinth, once a place of ritual precision, devolved into chaos. Parasites spilled from shattered altars, scurrying across stone like black fire. Blood runes, carefully etched over decades, pulsed once and extinguished. The matron stood at the center, her frail body illuminated by the glow of fungal lanterns grown from blood-soaked walls. For the first time, her voice faltered. It remembers. What had once been controlled experiments, parasite fused with vampiric blood, tempered with wolf sinew, was now evolution without restraint. The creatures no longer mirrored their creator's ambition, they mirrored their creator's sins. The first hunt. Survivors described the night it began. Torches dimmed as if swallowed by shadow. A silence thicker than death smothered the tunnels. Then came the claws. Walls shredded, bone cracking under impossible weight. Voices chanting in devotion cut off mid-syllable, replaced by screams that echoed down hallways like prayers unanswered. The Vârcolac did not discriminate. Vampire-blooded initiates, wolf-blooded berserkers, unmarked cultists, all were prey. It hunted without allegiance, driven by a hunger older than either curse. The Blood Wars. Word of the massacres reached the surface in fragments. Tales of villages abandoned overnight, livestock drained yet uneaten, forests moving as though alive. Romanian folklore began whispering a new name, Vârcolac. Not merely a werewolf, not merely a vampire, but something beyond both. Peasants nailed silver coins to their doorframes. Priests recited prayers backwards, believing the words might seal their thresholds. Yet the night came anyway. The matron's cult, fractured but unbroken, retreated deeper underground. But survival bred fanaticism. Those who remained believed the Vârcolac to be divine punishment, a test by the parasite itself. Only the worthy shall endure, the matron proclaimed, even as her faithful starved in the dark. The hunt turns outward. Over time, the Vârcolac left the tunnels. Forests grew silent where it prowled. Travelers vanished without trace, their bones found days later, hollowed out as though something had drunk not just their blood, but their memory. Monks chronicled the sightings, eyes glowing like molten iron, limbs too long for a wolf, too sinewed for a man, claws that carved spirals into stone. But folklore blurred truth. Some said the Vârcolac devoured the moon itself, eclipsing it in its hunger.
Others whispered it could slip between worlds, appearing in dreams before the hunt began in flesh. A war without witnesses. As kingdoms rose and fell above ground, the parasite spread in silence below. The cult's ruins became forbidden ground, entire regions marked on maps with nothing but black ink and the word, night. Night. Hunters came and vanished, priests came and were converted, and through it all, the Vârcolac grew, not in numbers, but in legend. The matron's journal, the last entry before her disappearance, ended with a single line. We sought to conquer the night, but the night learned our names.
Part 4. The Eclipse and the Curse. Vârcolac in History and Myth. Long before the cult's fall, long before whispers of vampires or wolves reached the villages of Transylvania, the word Vârcolac already existed in the tongues of shepherds and midwives. It was not born in scripture. It was born in fear of the sky. The eater of the moon. Peasants in the Carpathians told stories of a beast that devoured the sun and moon during eclipses. When the world darkened at midday, they did not cry, "Omen." They cried, "Vârcolac." Mothers beat pots with iron spoons. Children screamed prayers backward. Villagers burned juniper and garlic, believing the smoke might drive the creature away. To them, eclipses were not celestial events. They were hunts. The astronomer's terror. Centuries later, Byzantine chroniclers recorded the same panic during lunar eclipses. One monk wrote, "When the moon turned black, I heard claws on the monastery's roof. The dogs howled, but no shadow moved. The night itself was alive." Even the church, so quick to dismiss peasant superstition, quietly forbade mention of the Vârcolac in certain sermons. Priests whispered that the creature was neither demon nor angel, but something older, an echo from the chaos before creation. Symbols in stone. Hidden in the mosaics of forgotten chapels across Eastern Europe, strange patterns emerge. Wolves coiled around moons. Human figures crowned with thorns, drinking from wounds instead of chalices. Black spirals, identical to those etched into the cult's altars, carved discreetly behind saints' halos. Historians dismissed them as artistic flourishes. Occult scholars saw continuity, a secret lineage of blood and curse stretching from ancient cults to medieval monasteries, concealed in plain sight. Between vampire and wolf. In Slavic folklore, vampires or strigoi and werewolves or lupi were distinct terrors. Yet stories of the Vârcolac blurred that line. It could drink blood like a strigoi, yet howl under a full moon like a wolf. It crossed thresholds uninvited. It prowled cemeteries and battlefields alike. It was neither man nor beast, neither cursed nor blessed. It was hunger incarnate. The hidden war. Medieval chronicles speak of shadow crusades waged not against heretics, but against things buried beneath monasteries. Knights vanished in Carpathian passes. Entire abbeys burned with no survivors. And yet, no church decree recorded these wars. Why? Because acknowledging the Vârcolac would mean acknowledging the parasitic covenant and the Vatican's unspoken fear that their sacraments were not the only rituals binding heaven and earth. The matron's legacy. When archaeologists unearthed ossuaries beneath Moldovan fortresses, they found remains unlike anything human. Elongated jaws, double rows of teeth, rib cages fused with lupine bone. But the most disturbing find was an iron crown fused to a skull that had no eyes, only hollow sockets lined with scar tissue, as if something had burned its sight away. Locals refused to approach the dig site. Children whispered that when the crown faced the moon,
The wind howled. The Vârcolac, they said, was not dead. It was waiting for the next eclipse.
Part 5. The Eclipse returns. Vârcolac in the modern age. Centuries passed. Kingdoms rose and fell. The parasite became legend. The cult's name was buried under dust and superstition. But the Vârcolac never truly vanished. The eclipse of 1999. During the total solar eclipse of August 11, 1999, the longest of the century, Romania's Carpathian villages reported mass disappearances of livestock. Entire herds were found bloodless, untouched by predators. Police dismissed it as panic or ritual killings, but locals whispered another explanation. The night remembered. In the village of Poianării, an elderly shepherd claimed to have seen a shadow blotting out the eclipse itself, a second darkness within the darkness. When asked what it was, he answered only, "The parasite has opened its eyes." The 2017 American eclipse. When the Great American Eclipse crossed the United States, astronomers focused on corona studies. Yet rural Montana saw a spike in cattle mutilations eerily similar to Eastern European cases. Unmarked black spirals were burned into the earth, patterns visible only from drone footage. No agency claimed responsibility. No investigation followed. But among folklore researchers, whispers began. The curse has crossed oceans. The Romanian excavation. In 2004, archaeologists excavating a forgotten monastery near Tisma uncovered an ossuary sealed in salt and obsidian. Inside, deformed skeletons, elongated jaws, fused wolf and human spines, and an iron chalice crusted with dried blood. But the most shocking find was a sealed sarcophagus carved with spirals identical to those described in medieval cult manuscripts. The inscription read, "Do not wake what hunts the moon." The sarcophagus was quietly removed. Its contents remain unacknowledged, but leaked reports speak of a pulse detected inside the coffin, faint but steady. Unexplained phenomena. Since the excavation, a pattern has emerged. Sudden blackouts during lunar eclipses, unmarked graves disturbed in Romanian forests, bloodless carcasses found across Eastern Europe, and now in South America. Satellite imagery shows forest canopies collapsing inward in spirals during these events, as if something massive moves beneath. The Vatican's silence. In 2020, declassified Vatican documents revealed quiet missions labeled Sanctus Umbra. Teams dispatched to Romania, Ukraine, and Bulgaria during every major eclipse since 1999. Their orders remain classified, but survivors speak of beasts that wear human voices. Scholars argue the Vârcolac is a metaphor, a cautionary tale about humanity's hunger for forbidden power. But in forgotten valleys of the Carpathians, villagers still bar their windows during eclipses. They still burn juniper. They still whisper, "Do not look at the moon, for it may look back."
Part 6. The final eclipse. The night devours the sun. The prophecy awakens. The year is 2026. Astronomers announce a rare hybrid eclipse, the only one of its kind this century, passing directly over the Carpathians. But ancient manuscripts, once dismissed as myth, warned, when the sun and moon share one face, the night will claim its throne. The gathering. Three forces converge on the eclipse's path. Vatican's Sanctus Umbra Task Force, secret operatives sworn to erase traces of forbidden cults. Independent archaeologists led by Dr. Mirela Stoian, whose discovery of spiral-marked skeletons shattered her academic career. A modern cult calling themselves the Children of the Night's Crown, descendants of the matron's bloodline, seeking to complete the ritual she began centuries ago. The unsealing. Beneath a monastery ruin at Poianării, they find a cavern carved in impossible geometry, walls shifting like living flesh, echoes singing in forgotten tongues. At its heart, a sarcophagus of black stone veined with silver,
pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. The Vatican orders it destroyed. The cult chants to awaken it. The archaeologists want to study it, but as the eclipse begins, the choice is made for them. The eclipse descends. Day turns to night. The wind dies. Animals fall silent. The sarcophagus cracks. From within emerges a creature, neither man nor wolf, neither vampire nor beast, but all of them at once. Its eyes burn with twin suns of molten iron. Its voice echoes 1,000 whispers. We rise as one. We hunt as one. The battle in shadows. The cavern erupts in chaos. The Vatican fires blessed bullets. They dissolve midair. The cult kneels and offers their throats in ecstasy. The archaeologists run away, but the walls themselves shift, trapping them in spirals of living stone. Above ground, the eclipse reaches totality. Forests bow inward as if the earth itself worships the returning sovereign. The sovereign's dominion. This is no simple awakening. It is assimilation. Every infected creature in the Carpathians stirs. Wolves with obsidian claws, birds with human eyes, deer with faces twisted into silent screams. They converge on the ruins, circling like planets around a black sun. The Vârcolac spreads its will beyond flesh, into dreams. Every human within miles hears the same whisper in their skulls. Hunger remembers. The last stand. Dr. Stoyan discovers a fragment of the original Matron's writings. To unmake what I made, bind the hunger with silence, offer blood, but refuse the scream. It is not victory, it is containment, a ritual older than the cult itself, one that requires willing sacrifice. As the sovereign Vârcolac towers above them, Stoyan steps forward, slicing her palm, offering herself without fear. The beast halts. The eclipse wanes. For a moment, night and day tremble in perfect balance. The aftermath. When the sun returns, the cavern is silent. No beast, no cult. Only the archaeologists remain, dazed and hollow-eyed, marked with spirals burned into their palms. The Vatican seals the ruins, declares it unfit for human trespass. But the whispers do not cease. The ominous truth. Children born during the eclipse bear strange birthmarks, circular scars faintly glowing under moonlight. Animals avoid them, dreams follow them. And deep below the Carpathians, something stirs again, slower this time, waiting. The night remembers. The night waits. And when it rises again, the world will bow.